the UPS mobilization, the UAW strike, the writers, actors, the Durham city workers. We've got that kind of environment that's developing. It's urgent for us to take advantage of it right now.
The Southern Workers Assembly is a network of local unions, worker organizations, and workers that are in organizing committees committed to building a rank-and-file democratic social movement unionism as a foundation for organizing, uniting, and transforming labor power throughout the South. That is a great goal. We support it. And we have, I think we've had some people from the Southern Workers Assembly on the show before, but I don't know if we've done a deep dive into what they, into their mission and what they're up to. So really looking forward to this.
Yeah, so welcome to the Valley Labor Report, and I wanted to give you a chance to just kind of introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what got you involved in the movement before we get into the Southern Workers Assembly and what y'all have planned.
Great. Yeah, sounds good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Sound great.
Great. So, yeah, my name is John Dillahunt, and I'm a member of the Southern Workers Assembly, proud to serve on the coordinating committee. My work in the labor movement has primarily been with the Black Workers for Justice since its founding in 1982, and I'll say a little bit about that later. And as a postal worker for 25 years, during which time I served as a local president and a state director of research and education. So that's how I kind of come into the movement. We're here in North Carolina, which is an important state in the South in terms of trying to organize the kind of movement that we need. I appreciate you kind of laying out what it is we want to do. The assembly was started in 2012 in Charlotte. And Charlotte was the site of the Democratic Party convention that year. And a lot of people were getting together to kind of demonstrate and oppose the Democratic Party agenda, which really didn't address the needs of workers. And so we were there for that, but we were there primarily to talk to other workers about building a movement that would counter what it is the Democrats and the Republicans are doing, to talk to each other, to try to build a network of folks across the South. And so we spent the weekend with folks from Kentucky and Tennessee and Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Florida, probably a few other states that I'm leaving out, but defining the kind of mission that you laid out, that builds a movement of rank and file workers that is geared towards social movement unionism. And just to say a little bit about that, and that's a unionism as we see it that is not just limited to the workplace, with wages and benefits, which are certainly important, but is broader than that. And that relates to the broader social movement on the outside that's fighting for health care, fighting for education, for housing, fighting against police violence, those kinds of things. That's the social movement unionism we're talking about, that we connect to that. And with the recognition, that workers' lives are not just limited to the workplace, to the factory or the fields or the hospital or the buses that they drive or wherever, but that they have lives that requires them to have good health care, that good housing, that children need education, and so on. And so we see the social movement unionism as important and as a kind of counter to business unionism that just limits the work that unions do to the immediate workplace issues. So that's how we've been operating. The rank and file aspect we think is very important, that the rank and file is a part of setting the agenda and leading the work. And that's too often we find in the labor movement that that's not the case, and the work is very top down and dismisses the voice of rank and file workers. And so we're kind of counter to that. The work that we want to do, though, friends, is that we want to bring people together in local areas, in workplaces that are beginning to organize or that need to be organized, and to get them up and rolling, to start to build some kind of organization in the workplace, some kind of resistance, and then to be in touch with workers in other workplaces in the same city or in the same county. And so that they can help each other out in times when they're trying to organize, when they're fighting the bosses, when there's pressure coming on them from elected officials, from the state, whoever, to have some folks to bond together with and to build a movement. And as we've said, it's not just workers that are organizing for the first time, but also local unions that need to be involved in part of this process. And so we've been building that. Right now, we've got probably 11 assemblies that have come together. And it's been long and hard work over the years with a particular uptick since the COVID pandemic brought a lot of people out. And then, of course, the strike activity of late has really ramped up the activity. So we've got folks in the Richmond area. We've got an assembly of Richmond, in the Tidewater area, Raleigh-Durham in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Charlotte, Asheville, Atlanta, New Orleans, Northern Kentucky, Tampa, and Columbia, South Carolina. And then there's also interest that's been shown by folks, of course, in Charleston and in Greenville, North Carolina, here in our own state. So the network is expanding and really has gotten a boost from the labor conditions and the labor resistance and fight back that we've seen over the last year. And, you talk about it on the program all the time, but, the UPS mobilization, of course, the UAW strike, the writers, the actors, and even in our own state, in the public service sector, the Durham city workers going out. So we've got that kind of environment that's developing, and we really think that it's urgent for us to take advantage of it right now in this particular moment. The politics of the country with the lurch to the right and the uncertainty about what's going to happen after the next election really, demands that we get moving on building something together, building some unity. So a couple of other points, and I mean, you've dealt with all kinds of organizing that's going on in the South. What we like to emphasize that getting a union and a contract is a goal, but maybe not the only goal. And given the experiences of so many organizing drives, the road towards an NLRB election that's successful and then a successful contract is very, very difficult. Very difficult. And so it's not that we're discouraging that, but we're saying that in addition to those efforts, that many workplaces are going to have to get started on their own. And we're seeing it, just people spontaneously getting together, building a workplace committee. Our organization, Black Workers for Justice, since 1982, has followed a practice of helping workers build committees inside the workplace just to do anything. It might be just a health and safety committee, a women's rights committee, an anti-discrimination committee, whatever, but some form of organization that helps to build some power to be able to fight back in the workplace. And with the development of those committees in multiple workplaces, we think that the infrastructure for building the Southern Workers Assembly in a city or in a county or in a region is actually there, so people can cooperate together. Just a case in point, the organizing that's been going on at Amazon in a number of cities, but particularly in the Raleigh-Durham area, has gotten support from the Southern Workers Assembly, doing plant gate work, out there flyering, trying to get people's information, meeting with them to set up different kinds of activities inside the plant is something that the Southern Workers Assembly can do. That's some of the big names, but even a smaller kinds of workplaces, that's important. But it also includes bringing in folks that are organized already. So, for example, in Richmond, we've got education workers, people who are involved with the teachers organization there, the teachers union, they're involved. And it goes across sectors, people in the distribution and logistics area like Amazon, but also in the public sector. We've got folks. We've got folks that are working in the fast food sector. We're happy to say that the Union of Southern Service Workers is connected now with the Southern Workers Assembly. They've been fighting for years for 15 an hour and a union. And they manifested that last year and are continuing to work, but they're part of this general motion that we're a part of. So what I want to kind of say here too, you guys know it because the program is located in this critical region of the country, but the South is so important. The South is so backward in many ways, not by accident, of course, by design. But we suffer the worst economic conditions. The median earnings in southern areas are among the lowest in the South. In the country rather. Poverty rates are above the national average. In Louisiana and Mississippi, for example, 1 in 5 residents in poverty, and then the child poverty rate in the South is 29%. Higher than any other region. And then we also, and it's kind of interesting when you talk about the radio program coming in as part of the right-wing network, right? It's that right-wing network that's been part of the support for the white supremacy that the South has witnessed and historically, and the Jim Crow that we faced for so long, which has had an impact on Southern organizing over time, particularly the Taft-Hartley Act, and I know you guys have talked about that in the past. But its right to work provisions still prevail, and in fact, more and more states have gone in that direction. We've lost some states that had collective bargaining rights and didn't have to worry about dealing with those kind of laws, but it's also impacted public sector workers. Here in North Carolina, for example, there's legislation that prohibits collective bargaining amongst state employees. And all of this, we have to underscore, came out at the height of the Jim Crow era here in this country. So we're still having to fight our way through that right now. And I think what we're seeing in terms of all the workers stepping forward, black and white, brown, Native Americans, that we've got some motion that we really need to take advantage of at this moment if we're going to make some breakthroughs. So that's I'm going to kind of leave it at that. And see if you have any questions you want to ask in particular about the SWA. And then I'd like to share something about the school that we're excited about and would like to have your listeners consider attending if that's something that might help their work.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot you said that was just really great, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that SWA is doing because, as you put it, we've got to meet the moment, and there are so many threats and crises that we're facing. There's so much potential that we're facing as well. When we talk about the public support of labor, as you talked about, the conditions have really gotten to the point that more and more workers are looking around and interested in organizing. And we've got to be there to support them and to build that interracial people power that can transform the South, because we have to transform the South if we're going to really save this country. So I really appreciate what y'all are doing and getting workers connected across industries, across unions, non-union as well, because, I think that is important. Only roughly 1 in 10 workers in this country are members of a union right now. And those other 9 out of 10 still need to organize. And even if it is intermediate steps before they get to a union, I love that y'all are working on just building power in the workplace, however you can, whatever that looks like, under various conditions. And shout out for y'all's work in the Carolinas, because I know the Carolinas are maybe the toughest spot in the South to organize, just based on y'all's union density alone. We think we've got it bad in Alabama, but I know y'all have got your work cut out for you out there as well. So all that to say, I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And yeah, tell us about the Southern Worker School. Really looking forward to hearing about that.
Sure. So, we've done probably 5 or 6 schools during the lifetime of the assembly, dealing with various topics over the years. What's been called upon workers to do, what do they need to learn, and so on. So always a kind of nuts and bolts school and whatnot, how to organize, how to hold a meeting, how to do a flyer, how to do a press conference, how to map your workplace, all of those kind of basic things. We've always included that. And we'll be doing that too in this one. Let me just start by saying it's November 10th through the 12th here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so we'll hope people will be interested in coming. What we're going to do, though, in terms of how to build an assembly, so people who want to build an assembly in Alabama or in any other place, that there'll be opportunities to kind of get the step-by-step building process, to hear from other people who have done it, to learn the challenges they face and the victories that they scored. There'll be that. But then there's also going to be discussion on meeting the opportunities of the moment, and that we just talked about. And we feel like the way to do that is through coordination and collective action. That's and on a broad scale, it's got to be done. So we'll spend a lot of time on that. The introduction to the whole school take place on Friday, and we've got a very interesting panel that's titled Building Strike Power in the U.S. South. Okay, not so in the U.S. South, not just across the nation in the Midwest or in the East, but across the South. And on that panel, we'll have the Durham City Workers that I talked about earlier, Arkansas Tyson Poultry Workers from Charlotte. We'll have UPS workers, the Truckers Movement for Justice, Columbia Starbucks workers, and more. But all kind of bringing their lessons and their experiences. And of course, as your caller said earlier, this issue of the strike is very important. It's a major tool. It's not to be used as a toy, of course, but carefully implemented is a very important tool for us. Whether you're in a large union like the United Auto Workers or the Teamsters, but even in smaller units and in other industries, it's really important. So bringing that together, listening to that, it'll be important on Friday. Then we'll have sector and industry breakouts. So, teachers will be able to get together, transportation workers will get together, construction, all of the different sectors to kind of share information, share experiences, and to develop the contacts to continue to be in touch with each other over the next months and years as they build their work. And then a discussion of the political period. And, you guys agree with us that this is just a critical period. So we got to know what it means. What does this next election mean? What does it mean that so much of the budget now is being shifted towards the military? What does it mean in terms of the threats against Social Security? And what about Medicare for all? Universal health care, all of those kinds of things are really important. And even to the extent of how is the government, local governments and state and national governments going to respond to the growing labor movement? Strikes don't happen in a vacuum, and there's always some kind of response, of various types. And we've got to be prepared for them. We've got to know what to look for and how to defend ourselves against that. And then, lastly, as in any conference or school of this type, to build the networks with other folks so that they'll be able to, in the future, stay in touch through the SWA networks, but also independently of each other. So it's not, our organization is not really super formal and tight-knit where people have to go through some kind of structure to talk to each other. People are just getting it on after they meet each other. We encourage that, and we're looking forward to that happening in November.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for Southern activists, for Southern workers, whether you currently have a union, whether you don't have a union, if you're interested in learning more about activism and organizing in the workplace and among your fellow workers in the community. I think that's is really great. And like you said, one of the best things that comes out of events like this is the networking and just the connections that you make, the relationships you build, because you're going to meet people who are working on stuff that inspires you. You're going to meet people, who are working on things that are similar to what you're working on and may have some tips and tricks and some things to avoid. And you're going to meet some folks that, you'll be glad that you did someday, somewhere. You just never know, right? And so and that's one of the things that always amazes me about this movement is sometimes you meet folks and you don't necessarily know why, but 6 months from now, a year from now, there's a struggle that pops off, and now you need that connection, right? And so I think that's one of the great things about what y'all are doing. So remind us the date. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, November 10th through the 12th, correct?
That's right. That's right. And of course, for information on the conference, you can write info at southernworker.org. And I've got I don't know if you guys can put this up. There's a long address that people can also get in touch with. It's an invite. Let's see. Yeah, let's go with the info at southernworker.org. That's probably the easiest one.
Yeah, absolutely. Info at southernworker.org. If you want to hit them up and find out how to get plugged in, how to, whether that's, getting plugged in with Southern Workers Assembly, like in your community locally and doing some work with them, or specifically about this Southern Worker School, definitely encourage all of our listeners and comrades out there who can make it to Charlotte, November 10th through the 12th. Definitely do that. I think it'll be a great opportunity for folks. And Ajamu, I really appreciate your time and appreciate the work that you're doing. I'm looking forward to connecting more with y'all and just getting more plugged in with the work that y'all are doing and vice versa. Let y'all know what we're up to in North Alabama. I wanted to give you a chance. Do you have any parting words for Southern workers and activists this morning?
Well, yeah, I just want to say, again, just thank you guys, not, just for having us on, but for what you do in general and being in the belly of the beast, so to speak, requires a big salute to you guys for doing it. and having the impact that you are. And I just wanted to emphasize, I talked earlier about Southern social movement unionism. Just wanted to point out today, I'm in Eastern North Carolina at the North Carolina Environmental Justice Network annual summit. And I say that to say that we're connected to the environmental justice movement and in ways that deal with labor. And we've done this for years, and it's not that kind of connection. But on the other hand, a number of our members are down in Charlotte on the picket line with UAW right now. So it's that kind of breadth of work that we're doing, that many of your listeners are doing, and we just need to bring it all together to build some power in the South. So that's why we say organize the South to build workers' power. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Appreciate that. Thanks again. And again, y'all can hit up info@southernworker.org if you want to get more details on the Southern Worker School. Again, it'll be November 10th through the 12th in Charlotte. Check out Southern Workers Assembly. Check out Black Workers for Justice. Doing some great work. Really appreciate it. And thanks again for joining us this morning. All right. And so, again, I really do appreciate what they're doing. And I do encourage listeners, if you're in the Charlotte area, if you're in the Carolinas, unfortunately, Jacob and I have a prior obligation. We're not going to be able to make it. I wish we could, because it sounds like a great event, and I'm hoping to make it next time. Hopefully it's going to be very successful. There'll be another Southern Worker School soon, and would love to do that. But yeah, I really appreciate what they're doing, and I know we've got some listeners out there in the Carolinas. I know we've got a few, so definitely get plugged into what they're doing. I would love to hear about the Durham public sector workers. I bet you that's going to be a really cool panel.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been doing some awesome stuff. So,
yeah,
looking forward to hearing the results.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.